because we deal to a large degree with optics rather than policy, rather than aligning together to actually deal with what our concerns are, there's very little regard for a sizable population who should have power, but just aren't necessarily collectively organized in a way that they should be to get the benefits in terms of lobbying. So I know many of the die-hard community leaders in Tottenham, and I know just how frustrated they are at the lack of advancement over the course of 15 years. And the amount of murders, the fact that services are decreasing. So listen to Gwenton.
But let me challenge you, Dean, on that point there. Yeah? This is what I'm going to challenge you on that point, because I've had this debate with other people.
I welcome the challenge, sir.
Yeah, all right. On having the privilege of this being my second time running, the first time I went in it, I was emotionally connected.
Yeah.
Twisted, you know what was going on. So this time my head's clear. I've had people like you around me to make sure that everything's running smoothly in the background. Got a manager. So my head is clear to get on with what I need to get on with. The reason why I say I challenge you on that point is this. If someone's hands is tied, they can't help you anyway. So
I fully concur.
Yeah,
this is the policy of benign neglect.
Yeah, so if you're voting in someone with shackles on their hands and feet, but you're still voting them in, you've enabled someone to become a victim of their circumstance.
Absolutely.
So you can't then blame someone when they become a victim of their circumstance to come out of the shackles and speak up for you, because you knew while you were putting them in there as a hostage that they weren't ever going to be able to come out of that paradigm to speak. It was never going to happen. And this is why when I look at people blaming politicians and blaming Khan, don't blame Sadiq Khan for nothing. You've got an option to change Sadiq Khan. You understand? You've had the option to change Lamy and whoever else, but chose not to.
Absolutely.
So if you're, it's like enabling someone. You've enabled the man to continue doing what he's doing. You can't then hold him to account if he has no power to do what you really want him to do. He was saying that on the leaflet as he's knocking your door. I'm going to bring you the sun, the moon, and the skies, and don't worry, I promise you, as soon as I get in, I'm going to do that. That's the robot within politicians talking to you. There's a difference with a human that is running. I'm not a politician. I'm not trying to become famous. If I wanted to be an MP, I'll wait till the seat goes up for MP and I'll run. I don't have to say, yes, sir, please, let me roll over, and then you tickle my belly. I don't need to do all of that. And that is what happens in politics. People roll over to have their belly tickled, and then they get a seat. We need to look and see how we change stuff instead of looking how things are not changing. And that's the difference. Not how it's not changing, because it's never going to change. Because the system and structures that are in place are not there to be bent. They're not there to be changed. So unless you've got some new construction workers going in to rebuild the system, you're going to be dealing with the same broadband service for the rest of the time. And it's not about complaining when your broadband's running slow because you had the option to go to an alternative. Simple.
110%. And I welcome your challenge. I agree with everything you've said. You're pushing on an open door. And I think this is one of the things, whereas a community, we've been very naive and we've been complicit with a policy of benign neglect. We can't really look outside. If somebody promises to bring you bread in the morning and then 30 days later, the bread you've paid for has never been delivered and you still continue to hire that person, that's entirely on us. So we are presented with an opportunity to do something very different in the borough of Lewisham, in the ward of New Cross, with my brother Huey Rose, who I'll be interviewing from the We Matter Party on Friday. who is running for Enfield in the ward of Southbury, again, agreed to the schools to industry pipeline initiative, which is going to create wraparound care for young people so that we can go to the corporate CSR programs and fund these type of initiatives. Is very important that those diehards will see a Claudine Dewberry run everywhere. We'll see a Cheryl Phoenix run everywhere as an individual, where at their stage of experience and expertise, they are supposed to be scaling up, training the trainers, and be well funded to do that. They should have 150 grand for infrastructure in terms of communication systems, project management systems, training trainers, and just to create that curriculum so that we know that children are well advocated for, not only in London, but UK-wide. These are the type of transformative policies we're talking about. And when we have a number of colleagues in different boroughs, and you're talking about that tiny little share of money from each of them, it makes up a substantial amount for us. So where some organizations are saying money like 150 grand isn't money, I agree wholeheartedly, it's not money. But in our world, we know how transformative that is, just to lay solid foundations. Now, somebody else is going to pay that as a retainer for somebody to redesign their logo. But in our little old world, we're going to set an entire infrastructure that is going to carry us through 12 months. And we're well aware of that. So in summing up, we've got 7 minutes left. Tell us about what you would really like to convey to the people in terms of when you're in office, what you don't like about New Cross, what you're going to change about New Cross, and how you think New Cross will look in 24 months' time for the constituents of the borough.
So the first thing we'll look at is the air pollution, because unlike certain other areas within London, New Cross and bordering Deptford has some of the most dangerous toxic air pollution down there, to the point where it's been accepted, legally accepted, for taking a young girl's life, Rosamond's daughter, on her way to school. So that is something that we need to look at. And some of the strategies that I'm looking at, they've started moving the plant pots that were brought in with this corona agenda. So because the emergency services were struggling to get to the patients. So if you could remove some of the plant pots, why haven't you removed the rest of them? And then we try and manage the traffic within peak times, because even yesterday I was outside there and the traffic was not moving for at least an hour. So when we're looking at that congested traffic that's just sitting there, how do we redirect the traffic? The next thing we're going to be looking at is, what are the stats? We need transparency with the stats of young people that are being medicated, and match that to the young people that have been held at the youth offending service and fast-tracked into the criminal justice system. Track that back to the schools that the young people are coming from to see if there's a common theme there, and have a meeting with the schools and the governors at the school to see how we could reduce that or put things in place.
By us is pivotal within that, so that we can't be manipulated in terms of massaging the figures.
Yeah, so we need definite transparency on that, and to keep a track of what's happening with that first and foremost. And then with the street crime, one of the things that needs to change down in New Cross is the street lights. They have partnered up with Croydon, and they've brought in these new lights, LED lights, which are dimmer than the old lights that they had where you go up there and change the bulbs. So a lot of people are feeling unsafe walking home late at nights, because that's now given criminals and other people the opportunity to go undiscovered in the nighttime when they're committing crime. The open drug dealing that is happening down there. New Cross is considered a countryside. So you have people piloting in from all over the country to drug deal in New Cross.
Yeah.
That is also impacting on the crime levels down there.
Youth violence.
Yeah, because you have different drug dealers fighting for the patch. When one drug dealer is taken out, then there becomes a vacuum, and the young people start trying to kill each other for that patch. So it's about making the community feel safe and the young people feel safe where they can go outside and play without feeling like they're going to get shot or stabbed or be groomed into drug dealing. So that's something I want to see happen within the first 12 months. Training the police as well. So the police learn de-escalation tactics instead of we're seeing these videos go around where the police are looking like they're manhandling the community. So
and just on that point,
yeah,
I was going to say not to cut you, but I always say that and then I cut people. Another transformative policy that we're looking at from Desmond Jeddo, who's running for the Police and Crime Commissioner in the West Midlands, is looking at local communities to ethnically represent them in terms of policing, which is, I know, a very important conversation to be had with the men. But don't let me cut you.
Yeah, and that is something that we could go to other communities and learn from, because there's other communities that police themselves already within London. So we could go and sit with the leaders of that community and learn best practice from them, how they've integrated that into the local police system, where they're recognized as being able to police their own area. So that's something that I'm going to go and look at. Also, I'm going to take a trip down to Bristol and find out how they've gone about doing the reparation down there in Bristol as best practice.
Sir, you could have a conversation with Esther Costa Zose. I will connect you to each other because she has been the driving force behind the reparations movement and the success that they have in Bristol. So you would get an inside view from her.